اجازه کی اومدی تو خونه شما؟
منو ببینم چشون شد.
بده من این کلیدو برو بیرون.
من از خونه‌تون دزدی
خانم
نکردم.
اون روی سگ منو داری میاری بالا ها.
من خونه شما دزدی
توضیح به من نده.
من اگه دزدی
توضیح به من نده. برو بیرون. برو بیرون.
پول امروز منو بدین من برم.
پولی که رفته تو کشو برداشتی؟ مگه بر نداشتی؟
من از 5:30 صبح با این دخترم سمیه. نه یه دقیقه
ببین برو بیرون. برو بیرون. هر چی دلت بخواد بیا بالا.
پیغمبر اگر من دزدی کرده باشم چه پیغمبر.
Asghar Farhadi garnered tremendous international acclaim in 2012 when his film A Separation won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. Since then, his succeeding and preceding films have gained more attention and acknowledgement, and rightfully so. Farhadi's films are carefully constructed tapestries of human behaviour. We meet these characters when they're at the depths of crisis, when they're at the crux of their closest relationships, when they're at their most vulnerable. A film reviewer describes him as an astute psychological realist and a fastidious storyteller. So, what makes an Asghar Farhadi film an Asghar Farhadi film? I'd say most, if not all, of his films involve three traits which are fundamental to his films. Iranian culture is a key element in Farhadi's films, save for the past, which takes place in France, but still includes an Iranian main character. Unlike other films where you can take the characters and their storylines and plop them in another city or even another country, his films being set against the backdrop of Iran is crucial. The country and its culture has shaped the characters and their upbringing, and this culture influences the characters greatly in how they think, feel, and behave. For example, in A Separation, serious conflict arises between a modern middle-class Iranian couple and the family of the woman they hire to help look after their ailing father. While this friction is in large part due to cultural and religious differences between the two parties, it also alludes to the fundamental antagonism in Iran presently between the modern middle class and the religious lower class.
آقا عنایت بفرمایید خانومشونم که ازشون طلاق گرفته بلند شده سند آورده واسه.
ای بابا.
شما ضامن داری؟
ضامن چی؟
یه کارمند دولتی، یه کسی که جواز کسب داشته باشه.
کسی رو
ضامن برای چی؟
شوهرم که بیکاره.
ضامن باید داشته باشه دیگه. الان متهم.
چیکار کرده مگه متهمه؟
طبق شکایت متقابلی که ایشون کردن ازش
بی خود رفته شکایت کرد.
خانم قبول کردن که پدر ایشونو بستن به تخت، درم قفل کردن رفتن دیگه.
بابا حاج آقا این بچهش مرده.
صداتو بیار پایین گفتم.
تو خجالت نمیکشی؟ تو مردی.
سر و صدا نکن گفتم.
Iran and its complex cultural facets are inextricably intertwined with these characters and their stories. It is vital and it is intriguing that these stories take place in this certain place at this certain time. Farhadi creates simple stories told in compelling ways, simple storylines about ordinary people, and for the most part, ordinary events that aren't too far-fetched. But he's able to make the simplicity sophisticated and gripping, which involves a huge amount of skill, because there aren't a multitude of storylines for us to keep up with, or intricate storylines to get our head around. There's nowhere to hide. A Separation is essentially about a couple who are going through just that, a separation, along with its distinct difficulties. The past is in essence about a divorce, with its own set of distinct difficulties. Because of the simplicity at its core, we as viewers can more easily relate to the characters and imagine ourselves in their shoes. Which brings me to the next trait of Farhadi's films. Empathy. In The Salesman, Ahmad and Rana are a young couple living in Tehran, Iran, both actors who are currently playing the lead roles in a local production of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. The couple move into another apartment, and once there, the complicated and mysterious life of the apartment's previous tenant instigates a case of mistaken identity and violence, which changes the couple's relationship from there on out. Specifically, Rana is physically and possibly sexually attacked in their apartment while taking a shower, as the man who attacks her later claims that he thought she was the previous tenant, a woman who is suggested, through roundabout comments from neighbours, to be a prostitute.
این بابا مشتری این خانومه بودش. من فکر می‌کنم این یارو هم امشب به حساب این که این خانم هنوز اینجاست اومده بوده.
Ahmad goes in search of Rana's assailant, who turns out to be an elderly man with a wife and kids. The man has a heart condition, and while Ahmad keeps him locked away to decide what to do with him, the man becomes very ill and is in dire need of help. Ahmad in this moment must decide whether to seek revenge or act on empathy. All of Fahadi's films, very much The Salesman in particular, remind me of the notion and solidify the notion for me that there is no such thing as good people and bad people. That we're simply people who act, and whether those actions are good or bad is debatable. From the outside looking in anyway, because for us on the inside, living our lives, in our own heads, in our own hearts, we always believe we're doing the right thing, right? Fahadi allows us to discover and study the characters in his films, and he provokes us to ponder about them and their lives, while simultaneously reflecting on our own. He compels us to become invested in these characters, but lets us decide for ourselves how we feel about them. At this year's Oscars, Fahadi won his second Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film for The Salesman. But with the current political situation and Fahadi being a citizen of Iran, he didn't attend the event, and even if exceptions were made for him to enter the US, he wouldn't have gone anyway.
I'm sorry I'm not with you tonight. My absence is out of respect for the people of my country and those of other 6 nations whom have been disrespected by the inhumane law that bans entry of immigrants to the US. Filmmakers can turn their cameras to capture shared human qualities and break stereotypes of various nationalities and religions. They create empathy between us and others, an empathy which we need today more than ever.
In his films, Fahadi strives to see the similarities between people, not the differences. Perhaps we could all learn something from that.